Isn't that what they found?
That is what their finding was, correct.
Okay. And then after that report was published, in 2017, they came out with a second report because people said, oh, the literature already exists, you missed it. And they said, no, that's not true. Isn't that right?
They
Objection.
concluded,
Relevance to preliminary hearing. We're now well into 702 argument.
He raised this issue on cross, Your Honor. He clearly went beyond the 2009 reference that the court allowed and opened this area up. And I don't think it's fair for him to be allowed to do that without me being able to respond to it.
Thank you. On cross-examination, that door was opened by the state, and so I will allow limited questioning on recross or redirect, however we want to label this. So you may proceed. The
Thank you.
objection is overruled.
In 2017, they filed a second report responding to assertions by people in your profession and others that they had missed or the studies had already been done. Isn't that true?
yes, PCAST did a 2017 addendum to their 2016 report, reiterating that they believe that the only way to properly empirically test a science is through these black box studies, and that they would not take into consideration the numerous amount of work and validation studies done over decades that the firearms community has published.
And a bunch of other studies were done, right?
Correct.
And in response to those additional studies, there have been continual criticisms of the methodologies of those studies. Isn't that fair?
Yes,
And you've read, for instance, well, first of all, you attended, I see, a webinar by the group that did some of the critiques. Remember that?
which webinar are you referring to?
You attended a webinar, I believe, in 2023, Treatment of Inconclusive Results and Error Rates of Firearms Studies. Webinar hosted by the Center for Statistics and Applications in Forensic Evidence, 2021,
Correct, I did.
according to you. And that group has published a number of studies right up to 2026, for instance. Their study in 2024 called Methodological Problems in Every Black Box Study of Forensic Firearm Comparisons, in which they concluded that the field still was not reliable despite the studies that you reference. Isn't that true?
That is the author's opinion, correct.
Right. And they're not the only ones. There have been other groups of statisticians who have published articles right up to 2026 saying that the studies that you referenced are unreliable. That their
Yes.
methodology of those studies is flawed and cannot be relied upon to support the science of toolmark comparison, correct?
Yes, there has been studies to say that they believe there is flaws in the black box studies and stuff, but there has also been plenty of research done to say the opposite.
And lastly, you mentioned that, or it was brought out that you have training and experience, right?
Correct, yes.
Do you agree with the conclusion stated in the section of the report, the PCAP report, that neither experience nor professional practices can substitute for foundational validity? Do you agree with that?
I do, yes.
You agree with the conclusion reached in the PCAP report that a forensic science discipline that has an error rate higher than 5% is not reliable?
I don't know that I have opinion to that because I think it's a little on the broad side. I don't know what you would consider high as far as a percentage.
Well, I'm referring to the statement at page 151 where they say methods with a high false positive rate are scientifically unreliable for making important judgments in court about the source of a sample. To be considered reliable, the false positive rate should certainly be less than 5%, and it may be appropriate that it be considerably lower depending on the intended application.
I would agree with that statement.
You would agree with that. And you also lastly reference your knowledge of the study by the AFTE of that proficiency, the one proficiency test which you have taken on bullet comparisons, correct?
Correct.
And the error rate in that particular study, proficiency test, was 20.4%, correct? For
Correct.
item 2, 18.2% for item 3, and 18.9% for item 5.
I believe those were the results. However, I don't agree that proficiency tests are what are used for validation studies to show foundational validity.
So
Proficiency,
if the error rates are high, then they shouldn't be relied upon to show invalidity, but they should be relied upon to establish that your experience means that your science is valid? Is that what you're saying?
foundational studies are looking at, just as PCAST said, those black box studies, different test design, all of which firearm and toolmark community has conducted. We've looked at cartridge cases, bullet, pristine samples, damaged samples, and different firearms. Proficiency test is looking at the accuracy of an examiner's results, not foundational validity.
But you would agree that an error rate of 20% is unacceptable, would establish unreliability, correct?
I would agree that those results need to be looked at to see where that error was coming from.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further for this witness? And Mr. McBride, I'm going to limit you because your objection to going outside and going to 702, you opened the door, but I've got to close that door to some point. So I will give you a limited number of questions. We need to come to a close.
I understand that. Your science has been accepted by courts across the country, correct?
Correct, yes.
It's routinely admitted in courts across the country, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Your science has been peer-reviewed and viewed favorably by numerous publications and studies across the country and across the world, correct?
Correct, yes.
No more questions.
May this witness be excused. Thank you, Mr. Burt. Thank you, Mr. McBride. Ma'am, thank you for being here. You are excused. All right, that brings us to a close. Do either party wish the benefit of the record before we adjourn for the night?
Can you just give us about 5 minutes, and then I think we can make an announcement? Can you just give us a minute to chat?
Yes, you may have that, and we'll stay in court for these 5 minutes, just because it would take longer to let everyone go and then come back in.